We have two more speakers coming up now before it's time to transition back into the ballroom for our keynote speaker with Mr. Elon Musk. And speaking of which, I just want to know where all the Martians are at in this. I guess that's where we're going to find them, in that keynote speak. But our next talk is actually done by a team of two. John Guiney, Vice President of the OneWeb Fleet Management Segment, responsible for leading the development of the fleet operations plans and products, which includes building the fleet operations team. John's experience includes a mix of commercial, NASA, and Department of Defense satellite programs. And Arlen Kam performs critical mission analysis from the original OneWeb constellation design and created the very first iterations for deployment of the constellation, as well as the critical ring morphing concept, which I think is pretty cool, which is basically how satellites rearrange themselves to cover the loss of a single satellite. So without further ado, let's bring John and Arlen up. Come on up.
Hello. Thank you. I'm fist bumping.
Thanks. Corona bump.
All right. Hello, everyone. So as he said, my name is Arlen. I joined OneWeb fairly early on in the company, and John joined not long after. And the two of us up here today really represent our philosophy in how we built the team, and building on many years of experience in the industry, as well as trying to push for innovation and thinking about doing operations differently than how it's been done in the industry so far. So that's really what the two of us are going to be talking about today.
Hi, I'm John. As I said in my bio, I've done ops for quite a long time now, more than 35 years, so that's probably longer than many people have been alive in this room. As Arlen said, we wanted to do things a little bit differently, and I joined just a little while after Arlen, and it quickly became apparent that my place in the world, because as I started pontificating about how we've always done operations and how we do operations, Arlen and another engineer about her same age started mimicking a T-Rex, like I'm a dinosaur. And so every time in a meeting that I would start saying something like that, they would make the dinosaur noise. So I didn't want to be called Dino, so I decided I should probably change the way my thinking was. So I won't talk too much about OneWeb. I hope hopefully by now everyone knows about OneWeb or has heard about OneWeb. But we're a global telecommunications company that we're bringing internet to the world. That's about as succinct as I can make it. And there's a few things around there that talks about our broadband and our frequencies and things like that. The one I want to draw your attention to is in the upper right, and that's operations. We really knew that we had to change the way traditional mission operations was done. And so I'll give you an example. Maybe some of you, maybe many of you in the audience have used drones, like toy drones. And you may either have a controller, maybe it's a joystick that you're flying the drones around. So one drone, one joystick. But if I told you to fly 600 drones, I couldn't hand you 600 joysticks and ask you to fly the drones that way. So we knew we had to do something that was different, innovative, and we knew that we had to also build something with a lot of automation, and it was very flexible because we knew that we were doing this early on. The constellation was going to grow and change as we built it, so we had to have something that was flexible. I won't talk too much about this slide. This really just talks about kind of our latency and how being in LEO is much better for latency. Again, I'll only draw that back when you're in GEO. You can have one satellite that covers a lot. In LEO, you're much lower, so you need a lot more satellites, which is back to problem number one for us.
So this picture is of the team, the entire fleet management team in 2015, when there were only 7 of us, and now we are over 100 people on fleet management. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much we've grown and how much we've built the team since then. But what we started with is we really wanted to pull in industry experts for some key areas for the to guide the build out of the rest of the team. And even now, we were looking for people who had a lot of experience, but wanted to use an innovative approach to building operations. And so that's what we did with this team. And a lot of the folks up here were people that John knew from industry, from working with them in the past. And that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted to utilize the experience over many years in the industry and then build off of that and do things differently. You'll hear me say that a bunch of times in this talk. Go ahead. So with this core group, we kind of formed a vision of what we wanted this mission operations team to be. And very early on, we actually we held a meeting, a brainstorming session for disruptive ideas. And it was really cool. I thought it was one of the great things that we did because we were throwing out all these crazy ideas, and we certainly didn't use all of them. There were a few that we selected, and then we moved them forward, figured out a path to implementation. But it was just great to have this group thinking that way. And I think that first meeting probably made John a little bit nervous from some of the things that we threw out there. But I thought that was really great, and just that we were thinking that way and trying to take a different approach. So from there, we set out to kind of build off of what these folks had experienced already. Go ahead. So what did we end up with? Well, we set out to hire people who were passionate, who were driven. If you hire smart people who are excited about the OneWeb mission, who are excited to learn new skills, then really you can teach them anything. So that's what we set out to build, and that's kind of what we ended up with. So we ended up with a team of superheroes, because these are all folks who they identify solutions, and they identify problems, and they really drive the solutions. If you see something, you take action and you take ownership of it, and you work to fix it. And we have a whole team of people who are willing to take on work that's not necessarily inside their job description. And that's kind of how we wanted this team to be. We wanted a team of people who were absolutely dedicated to the mission and willing to take on the work. One of the really great things I think that we've done is given a lot of responsibility early on. So by giving a lot of responsibility, there's certainly a lot of accountability that comes with that, for sure. And by doing that, we've been able to kind of give people ownership of their work, which is really great. And then the other thing we've been able to do is by hiring a bunch of smart people, we can be very transparent with the team. Because if people are understanding of the high-level goals that you're working towards, they'll be motivated to work towards those goals and really take on the ownership that we're asking of them. So that's kind of how the team ended up, and it's a really great team to be a part of. Everyone is really driven and works hard.
So one of the things we knew we had to do, especially with a young team, is we had to build a culture of trust. Because we couldn't ask these people to work so hard, do so much with all the goals we had, if we also didn't allow they could trust us as management that we would hold them, would blame them for their mistakes. So one of the things we did early on was absolutely, someone could try something, swing for the fences. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but we weren't about to try to squash that originality, that approach to solving problems. And because of that, operations has taken a turn that I never predicted when we first started this almost 5 years ago. One of the other things we've done, and anyone has ever worked operations, when there's some kind of a mistake or something happens in an operations team, sometimes you have something called an operations review board. And in other places I've worked, that was always a punitive board. That was always something that that you dreaded going in because you knew you were going to get blamed for something. We don't blame the people, we blame the problem or the process. And so we have these ORBs. I attended one this morning because something didn't go exactly right in operations, and no one took their birthday away, no one was punished, no one anything else, but we got to the root of the problem so we don't actually do that again. One of the other things that I think is good, sometimes the young folks especially see me as this old white guy that doesn't like to have fun, but we do actually try to have fun. People walk into my office and they see a host of empty liquor bottles or wine bottles or beer bottles, and they're like, wow, you guys drink a lot. Well, we don't really drink a lot, but we like to celebrate our successes. And so every one of those bottles has a key event and a date of when we did something as a team, and we're able to actually celebrate that as a team. It's a really good thing that we do that, and I think the team really appreciates it.
So balance, of course, is really important. We're trying to do something quickly, we're trying to move quickly, we're trying to implement improvements and fixes quickly, but we want to maintain a high standard for ourselves, both for our processes that we're building as well as being members of the space community. So finding that balance is something that doesn't happen overnight. It's something that we work towards and we will continue to strive for. But I wanted to tie this back to what I was talking about earlier with transparency, is that by giving the team the whole story and giving the team, okay, this is what we're trying to do, but remember, we need to do this responsibly. Different members of the team can wear different hats at different times. So the person who might be really pushing to get this fix deployed quickly, like we absolutely need it, might in a different situation wear a different hat and be the person who's saying, hey, wait, okay, I know we're talking through this, but let's slow down, let's stick to our process, that's why we made it. So the team really kind of identifies what we're trying to do and what the priorities are in order to find that balance that we're striving for, and something that we continue to keep in mind each day, because we have things changing all the time on our team.
Okay, so the whole, I think, title of our talk was how do you build a team that can get stuff done? I'll use stuff in quotes to be PG. So what are the results, right? We say we built a team, so what are the results? So over the last 4.5, 5 years, we built a team from, as Arlen said, 7 to over 100. We have done all the kind of traditional design reviews that many of you might be familiar with. The first year at OneWeb, I think we accomplished 4 separate design reviews in succession. We've developed over 1 million lines of our own software that we have. They're running the fleet today. We built 2 SOCs, and they're both operational. We deployed over 20 TT&C antennas to use that we're using today. And we've hired some outstanding people, which that is an actual task in itself. There's a lot of work that goes into hiring good people. And we have a great team in the US and a great team in the UK. And it's a young team. I'll give you some examples. Over 55% of our team is under 25 years old. And over 75% of our team is under 35 years old. So it's an incredibly young team, and that's where we get all the energy from. That's really where we get the energy. The other thing I'm particularly proud of is our retention rate. Since really we started this team, and by the way, I was Arlen's first hire, so kudos, Arlen. Since we started the team, we've only had a loss of just over 1% per year since we started the team. Across the industry, that is a really amazing retention rate. And then really, I'll leave you with my last thought, and then Arlen will close, is one of the things, if I have a legacy at OneWeb, it's not the satellites, it's not the SOC, it's not anything else. that I think we're building, and we're helping build and develop the next generation of space leaders. And that's really the thing that really, really I'm proud of, and I hope that's my legacy.
So in closing, we are super proud of the team that we have put together. We've put together a team that is extremely capable of people who are absolutely willing to chase down solutions. And we will continue to build this team. We'll continue to keep to the principles we talked about today. We'll continue to build, or rather foster, a culture of trust and a lot what John talked about in making sure people are comfortable and aren't afraid of making mistakes, of trying different solutions. And if you make a mistake, okay, let's review it, let's understand, and let's move forward from that. So that's really kind of the culture that we are trying to build. And that's what we'll continue to do. And we believe so much in this get stuff done philosophy that we put it on our first launch mission patch over there. That's from our launch last year. Yeah, I think that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for coming out.